ろしくお願いします。最初に言っておくと、英語のトークになるんで、ゆっくり喋ろうと思っていますが、早くなってしまったらごめんなさい。So I'm going to talk about developing a Vim plugin with Ruby, or when in Ruby you do it as a Rubyists too. So as I said before, let's talk in English. So please try to follow, although my English should not be fast. And this is the only talk that for 20 minutes. The other talks are for 30 minutes. So me, I'm Masafumi. People call me Okura-san. I'm a freelancer, so I belong to a company called Nil, which is obviously Nil. And my specialty is web, especially Rails. My activities is something like Kaigi on Rails, which I'm wearing this hoodie. Kaigi on Rails, which was actually happening last month. Yeah, and I was the chief organizer. I also maintain some gems, libraries, open source gems. I also organize some meetups like Gorilla-san. I organize Grow.rb and Ruby Gems code reading meetup where we reading code together, or something else. And I brought some Kaigi on Rails swags. Swags means novelty today, so please talk to me if you want to get one, like files. It's like not like the Unix files, but the physical files. And I started using Vim almost 10 years ago, and I switched to NeoVim recently. Not recently, like 5 years ago. VimConf and me, so I was attendee first, and I was a speaker in 2018, 5 years ago. And that title was A Day in the Life of an Ordinary Vimmer. And 2019, I was the organizer, one of the organizers. And after the conference, I was recommended to translate a book called Mastering Vim, and I did it. So there's Mastering Vim, where you can get it in Amazon. And I'm a speaker this year. So I'm this guy. This is 5 years ago, and I translated this book. You might already have this one. So here's my question. What is your choice of language for the development of Vim plugins? So, and in this context, Vim means both NeoVim and Vim, okay? So please raise your hand. Let me introduce candidates first. Vim script, Vim 9 script, Lua, and Dino. So please raise your hand. You're using Vim script to write Vim plugins. Please raise your hand. Oh, I'd say it's majority. Thank you. Vim 9 script. Anyone? I'm afraid no. Lua. Oh yeah, so obviously you're a NeoVim user. Thank you. And Dino. Oh, Dino and Lua are almost like equivalent, like amount of people. Okay. So, and finally, Ruby. Please raise your hand if you use Ruby to develop Vim plugins. No one. Yes, this slide was correct. Why? Why do I use Ruby? So this is my title slide again. And here, when in Ruby, so when I'm in Ruby, I behave as Rubyist. When in Ruby, what does it mean? Well, so this is my interpretation. When you want to manipulate Ruby code, so you are a text editor user, Vim user, and you love it. You love text editor. You want to manipulate Ruby code if you write Ruby to get some information, to get some insights from the code, where it's not possible in usual ways. So we do as the Rubyists do, but what do they do? Well, AST, the answer. AST is the common way to get information from the text. So AST stands for Abstract Syntax Tree, and in Japanese, if you're not familiar, in Japanese it's 抽象構文義. And in Ruby, luckily, we have this class, Ruby VM abstract syntax tree class. So it obviously looks like it's related to abstract syntax tree, AST. What is it? Well, the important thing I'm going to talk about it is it's standard library. It's part of standard library, which means we don't have to install anything to use it. Just install Ruby. And if you write, for example, Rails application, you should be installing Ruby already. So then you can use this class, AST class. And there are some usages, but the main one is to take Ruby code as a string and returns this AST tree structure, data structure, the root node. So it's like pyramid. So at the top of the pyramid is a root node. And I think it's not the best tool for modifying code. So for example, if you want to autocorrect, so you have your linters, right? Robocop, like Python linter, PHP linter, whatever, and it has autocorrection feature. This is not the best tool for such features like autocorrecting, but it's good enough. So for example, in Ruby's world, Ruby's linter has its own parsing tools to make it possible to autocorrect. But it's good enough to get some information from code. I'll show you the real-world example later. By the way, do you know RSpec? If you've used Ruby before, you should know RSpec. It's one of the most famous testing libraries in Ruby, and in fact, it's one of the most downloaded one, like Rails. It introduces some DSLs, domain-specific languages, such as describe, context, it, let, and so on. It's readable as English, and it affects many testing libraries out of Ruby. So like JavaScript testing libraries, Python, whatever. Like RSpec affects them in terms of this DSL. It's readable as English, but the difficult part is it can be nested. It can be deeply nested. So context, 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 and so on. And worse, tests can be implicit with subject and is expected. Let me explain. So is expected method is used to implicitly call the subject. So when you see is expected method, you need to be careful what subject is. It changes. It can be changed. Depends on context. So the problem is, what is the current context in the subject? So like hundreds of lines of code, RSpec code, and you're in the middle of it. Like, what is the current subject? So here's is expected. Okay, it's some test. What is it tested? What's this test about? You need to know the current subject to understand your test code correctly. So that's why I created RSpec current.vim. And here's the demo. So this is RSpec file. You don't have to understand what it is. It's RSpec. So at the very top is describe. And here's describe again and context. And here, oops. And here's a subject and it. And here it is expected method. So this is something like this. Okay, so is expected virtually is replaced to subject. And we have two is expected. But the subject is different because there are two subjects. So now it's in one monitor, it's one screen, so we can just understand it. But what for example, if like this, let's virtually like this, and if this subject is here. Let's say it looks like this. Then what's going on? Its party is expected to be fun. It's okay. Okay, but what's this party anyway? And we are going back. And can you see this one? The bottom. Conference of the party. And we go up, it changes. It changes somehow. It's conference.new. It's the part. It's a body part of the conference. See? And when we call rspec current subject vim function, it returns a conference. At the very bottom, it's hard to see, sorry, but. So this is what I created. This is what I created for rspec. And so now you're curious. Now you know what it is. Now you're curious how it is implemented. Like this. So it's vim file, rspec current.vim file, but the second line, this is line 2, it starts Ruby. And at the very bottom, it's line 152, Ruby ends. and only like 10 lines of Vim script to define Vim commands. So effectively, it's all Ruby. And the function I showed you is this one, rspec current subject, this one. And this one is just calls Ruby method and uses Ruby eval to get results from Ruby and returns it back to Vim. And what is this? So this is Ruby class which takes Vim's buffer content and loads it to the variable, and it gets buffer's content here. And this ASD method converts Ruby rspec's test code into tree structure. And now, this one. This subject method here, it manipulates ASD to get correct subject string, body string. So this subject node in parent chain method gets current node, currently a cursor position node, and converts it into a subject node. Subject is actually a method call, so subject node, and then, oops, this is quite magical, and it's so magical that no one can understand, including me. Node.children.last, and then children again, and then last, and then tokens method, and map it, and it's so cryptic, it's weird. _1 bracket to close bracket, and actually I forgot what's going on here, although I wrote it myself. I forgot it, but it successfully gets the result of the subject node, so this place. This is Ruby code, but it returns it as a string. That's what I created. It's a useful example, real-world example of Ruby plugin for Vim. Then some of you are wondering, why not LSP, right? There's LSP, which is useful. The problem is that this feature I created was too trivial, too small, too niche. I cannot push it into the generic server implementations. So we have some generic LSP servers like Ruby-LSP. And in fact, it has extension system, but it's too immature. I don't want to use it. Actually, I created rspec current Vim plugin almost like half a year ago in like April or something, But at that time, our Ruby out of spec didn't have add-on system at all. So I needed to make it stand alone. And our LSP is not the easiest thing to learn. So have you ever learned LSP? Like, the specification is so huge. And I didn't want to learn it just for my small features. And Ruby as a solution. So it's simple enough. So only one file to work with. And that's it. And no external dependencies. Just write Ruby and make it work. It's straightforward. So although abstract syntax tree is somewhat special, but it's straightforward for me at least. Writing Lua, like writing Vim script to parse Ruby code, it should be so difficult. And in contrast, it's so easy to parse Ruby code with Ruby. And less things to learn. So, we needed to learn how to develop a plugin with Ruby. It's not free. It's not free. Like, I paid some cost, time, to learn how to develop a plugin with Ruby, but it's simpler than learning LSP, I believe. Here's a small how-to. So if you're a NeoVim user, you need to do gem install NeoVim first, because without it, NeoVim doesn't respond to Ruby. I think Vim has built-in functionality, so you don't have to do it. And you saw Ruby eval. This evals Ruby code and converts the result into Vim string so that Vim plugin can use it. And Ruby here doc is just a simple way to write Ruby in Vim script. But you notice that there's no syntax highlight. This is so troublesome. Like, and I believe 6 months ago, this syntax highlighting worked, I believe. So, and actually, like last week, I tried to open this file and then noticed, like, oh my God, syntax highlighting was gone. So please, someone will fix it. Anyway, so here's my summary. So I talked about use case. It's all about use case for using Ruby as a development language for Vim. But it's not always. We usually use Vim script or Lua or Dino or whatever. It's good for language-specific features such as abstract syntax tree manipulation. So use your own language if you need. Use your own language if you need, because you can. And what I mean is that because of Vim. For example, like if you use some text editor from Microsoft, you're forced to use TypeScript, right? Because Vim is so kind to let us do it. Vim is so kind to let me use Ruby, to manipulate Ruby. That's so happy. That's all I got. Happy Vimming. 以上です。